Welcome viewers to another panel talk discussion on our TechNext show. Artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning are few of the terms that we get to hear very often these days. They are now playing a key role in functioning and the back-end operations of all industries and sectors. In our panel today, we are talking about the scope and future and the impact of AI, ML, and data science in this globalized economy. To discuss this, I have three eminent guests from the sectors of AI, ML, and data science. My panelists today are Sirisha Peyyeti, who's the co-founder of RoundSqr, Sreekanth Lapala, founder and CEO of Dextara Digital, and then Sudhanshu, who's the founder and CEO of VSEC. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start by understanding where we are today with when we talk about AI, ML, and data science. When you see India as a market space, let's start with the lady, Sirisha.
India as a market space is actually quite interesting, mainly because of the bold decisions that entrepreneurs in India are taking. And we actually have a spread of industries that are young and very, very rooted in tech. So yeah, right from experimenting with creating a product that is AI centric to trying to leverage AI and change the way it is imagined for large enterprises, we can actually see both of them happening simultaneously in India. That in itself is a big deal. But so yeah, essentially India is on the cusp of probably being called an AI world leader very, very soon.
Oh, that's good to hear. Sreekanth, you have had tenures in India and abroad as well. When you compare India versus the global, the globalized world, how do you see where do you see the connect, or where do you see the disconnect between what we are doing and what the world needs?
I'm a very firm believer of having worked in US, lived in US for some time, lived around all around the world for a few years before moving back to India. So in general, I think we all have probably read the book called "The World Is Flat," and it goes to say that is very much true when it comes to technology. It's a level playing field across the world. It's all about the ecosystem that supports the technology today, the innovation, is more where there is an ecosystem that is playing for that innovation. So in my view, I think, Western countries, Western counterparts had more, support in the ecosystem. That's why, we've kind of seen some of the very good startups that are coming, that have come in the past from West. But nevertheless, as Sirisha has mentioned, in the last several years, we've seen, a very, very strong motivation from the ecosystem around in India. There are so many startup hubs that have kind of taken into an incubation mode. So I see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs trying to take up this challenge and be very innovative and very daring in my view. So at this point in time, it's flat level playing field. It's globalized economy. I think you have a better idea. You are the kingmaker.
Sudhanshu, you are a consultant and you primarily work in manufacturing segment or sector. What kind of trends are you noticing? When you talk to your clients, is there firstly, the understanding of need for these, new technologies, emerging technologies, and are the clients or the companies ready to adopt it?
These are two great questions. So, in terms of AI and ML, the application has been more in the Western world where labor is limited, and to get quality labor, either it's not available or it's really expensive. So they have a strong need to get into using industrial robots and machine learning systems of assisted robots for the manufacturing world. But in the recent past, in the past 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of influx of robots in manufacturing in China. And who would believe it, that the most populous country has been using robots, and they are gearing their directive from what's his name, Jinping, the president, that productivity is the key task for them for the next few years to improve productivity. So we are seeing that trend in China, and in India, we are in between these two things. For example, like the company of Ola that's manufacturing two-wheelers, or Ather Motors, they have sprung up very soon because of using these devices of robots and assisted robots and other industrial robots to help them speed up manufacturing with low headcount. The pandemic has actually accelerated it by a few years in terms of the usage of robots. Major automobile manufacturers do use robots, but they are depending on them much more, especially for the data collection and to understand what's going on, the logistics part of it, the supply chain. That these aspects are being taken care of with more induction of robots. But India is a diverse country, and SMEs are key for any country to grow. So I would say the implementation of robots is going to be a little weaker than other countries. I mean, the penetration, given the fact that many people are unemployed and they need to have basic employment, right? So that's these are two challenges in India.
Yes, definitely. You touch upon a lot of interesting points, and especially when it comes to India, we cannot be, going all out tech out there. We need to also protect the interest of our people, a large, a base where employment is important. Sirisha, you provide solutions to your clients which are global. What kind of difference do you find, when they approach you for solutions, from the standpoint of ML and AI and data science, and also, how do you go about, structuring what do they need, what your clients need?
Yeah, so this is going to be very, very different from what we've been doing all this while, right? So when we say we've been working with clients globally, at one point in time, there was absolute clarity on what is the requirement. So somebody would say, I would need this thing built, and this is probably going to be a mobile app that will have these 5 screens, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very clearly laid out at one point in time. Now, the big difference that we are seeing, and that's also the need of the day and need of the hour, is the fact that you shouldn't be constrained by what your requirements are going to be at that level. We should be able to be a lot more fluid, truly agile in that sense, right? So when customers approach us today, the big difference that we're seeing is they're not thinking of ML as an afterthought. So they're not saying, okay, let us start somewhere and then we will figure out what ML is. No, nobody's saying that anymore. That's one big difference that we've noticed. Everybody is actually painting a picture of what their platform or what their use case is going to be with ML infusion from day one. So for us, the responsibility is that much more, because it is very easy to kind of say, yes, I will build a machine learning model for you, even without the company collecting one single piece of data. It is very simple to say that and, essentially set up a team and get some money out of that deal. But we have to be a lot more cognizant about the fact that a good machine learning algorithm will probably need decent size of data, will probably need a better understanding of the use case. There needs to be a clear ground truth that we can compare and measure it against. So our responsibility as a services company kind of changed dramatically. At one point in time, we were order takers to a large extent. Every services company was that. Now we are thought leaders, because we have to enable the client understand what is happening in the technology. Every one of us would have heard about people, process, and technology, all three contributing and all of that, right? Now, technology is the centerpiece. People have to adjust to it. Process has to understand it and then work together in tandem. So that difference, and helping the clients understand that and then infuse ML at an appropriate point in time, without, of course, like Sudhanshu was saying a while back, having that fear of, oh, if there is a machine learning algorithm, my job is going to be lost. So we have to elevate those fears. The change management needs to be there. So it's a difficult world, but it is a different and an exciting world. So that much is very, very clear, I guess.
Definitely, what we see, on social media and different places, when we see how AI, ML, and data science being used, Definitely for somebody like me who's an outsider, but very keen, keenly observe this, it is interesting. Sreekanth, what kind of challenges do you face as a company, or what kind of opportunities do you see as a company, both as an Indian entity and as a global platform?
So, Sunil, what we are seeing is when it comes to there is a very clear difference in the buying pattern of an Indian customer versus a Western customer. An Indian customer, for all known reasons, all native reasons, I would say, is more a cost-conscious buyer. So he's still kind of trying to say that, hey, if I can get, so much amount of digitization at the price point that I'm comfortable with, that's enough for us at this point in time. Whereas if you see a buyer instinct from a West, they want something which is not run of the mill. They want something which is next generation. They are okay to breach the borders in terms of the limits that we can explore with the technology at hand. So that's a very clear buying pattern. Now, that buying pattern could be because of what each of these buyers are exposed to. Second thing is that when it comes to, as Sirisha has rightly pointed out, these days when our customers look up to us, right, they are they are actually giving us a very fairly abstract problem statement. It's not very detailed, down to the line, down to the word kind of requirements. So they are ready to explore abstract ideas. They're ready to explore with we coming with the solutions to them for those abstract ideas. And there's a fair amount of acceptability in terms of we driving the solution end to end, and they're okay as long as the outcomes are achieved. When it comes to India, I would say the cost conscious in terms of the ness of the buyer is still holding them back in breaching the barriers or touching or testing the limits of the technology. So that's, I think, it's in some way is okay because we are slightly behind in our digital transformation curve, India compared to the West. But I'm sure we'll get there. The reason being, someone in the panel has pointed out that data is the key when you want to do anything to do with AI and ML. And we can proudly say with the kind of consumer base that India and highly populous countries like India, China, and these countries have, we probably will have much more positive and right decisions made by these models because of the large data underlying data set compared to some of the other countries in Europe and West, because the whatever you do at the end of the day, the data base and the data set for them where those models run will be relatively smaller. So I'm not, really, again, I still believe in the fact that in the world is flat. We will catch up. Indian customers, Indian consumers will probably start to see the positive effects of, what AI and ML and robotics can bring. And I also want to touch upon the point with that fear of, you know, job. We've been seeing this for last, what, 4 or 5 years at least. I've been there hearing about this for 6, 7 years now, right? That bots come and the job market is going to reduce. If we were to go by any metric in the industry, probably in the last 14, 15, 18 months, I've seen the highest number of hiring rates on LinkedIn than I've ever seen in my 24 years of career, right? So, and if I see, all of those requests are probably outside of the typical BPO industry, which India was known in terms of the highest job kind of creator, right? So we are seeing more and more jobs getting created, more and more opportunities getting created in these latest technologies. So I think the fear of losing a job or the fear of manpower getting reduced is probably more a misnomer at this point in time.
What Srikanth brought up, tell me, there is the price is an issue for Indian consumer or Indian industry. Uh, do you think, given this price sensitivity among our, the end user being the companies and the industries, will we be ever bring in world class facility or manufacturing facility which can produce, world-class products?
I'll give you two sectors where it is essential to use robots. The two sectors are automobile and electronics. In the automobile world, you have an assembly line, whether it's a car or a bike or a plane or anything, and things have to move at a certain speed. Every workstation has to finish tasks in certain time. So robots will be used. And for the logistics to ensure parts are being supplied at the right time for JIT manufacturing, just-in-time manufacturing, the supply chain teams need to be in touch with the ERP products of their suppliers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and check the on-hand inventory and match them. So there is going to be a lot of use case scenarios for AI and ML systems. In electronics, you need clean rooms. Clean rooms can be class 100, 10, 1,000 and more. And you just can't avoid it, because if you know the processor, the Intel processor that you use, is probably takes a few months to build. It's a very slow process. And that needs a very high degree of one, quality, at the same time performance on the site, and the quality in the sense you're spending few months, and if that batch is infected with say dust in the air, it's a total loss. That quarter can go, that the company can be in bad shape. Now the directive by the Prime Minister, the PLI incentives and stuff are geared towards electronics, given the global chip crunch, which is affecting auto industry and other sectors. In fact, even handheld electronics like laptops and others. So because of TSMC, the largest manufacturer, Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company. So given these situations, it's imperative that robots will be used. And it makes sense when there are multiple, it's a large company, they can afford a robot, which today the average robots will cost about, industrial robots cost about 100K and above in dollars after customizing it. So 100 to 200K. They would be in a good position to use it when they have a 3-shift factory and they have order books which are high. So there's a level threshold that, maybe a medium or large enterprise where they can actually benefit with robots. Now, if you look at it back for a small enterprise, where they are in a remote town, they're trying to employ people, they're getting a government, grant or a loan, an interest-free loan, there will be some stipulations in the clauses that you must hire certain number of people in order to, you're an SME to help that community. So there, I don't think this, this scenario would work, where they are in the threshold, they would have 3 shifts running and the order books are high and they would actually pay back the cost of the robots. So these are the two scenarios. I hope that gives some, throws some light, because my guest speakers have been mentioning about how the job losses would take place. But that's, I totally agree. The IT has actually improved because you need a lot of engineers to work back end in order to make the AI and ML systems work. And there is a great advantage by late starters. The use case is in China. In the past few years, they've been having apps where they actually monitor the ongoing the products in their factories, not from the desktop or laptop, but on the apps. So they have enough sensors on the site. They have enough data collection, and they're and send it in an app as a report. Okay, what's the schedule of the products? What is the WIP? What is the work in process? What has been the finished goods? And where are the inventory levels of the raw materials? So if, and there are many Chinese companies who have been supporting them. They say the Western model doesn't work. So I don't see that as a negative, use case. I see that as a highly positive case, because in India, it's easier for any entrepreneur to access an IT guy from their local town, city, and get them to customize a model which costs much cheaper than, say, in dollars or euros.
Sreekanth, as brought up by Sudhanshu, the industrial robots are going to cost anywhere upwards of $100,000. Will this be, will this become, a world where technology would be divided as the haves and the have-not, people, the companies that can afford it, vis-a-vis companies who cannot, or the technology itself will become cheaper?
Yeah, I think it's a phase, right? Any product that you have brought into the market, be it a software product, hardware product, right? Product will have its own life cycle. So I don't think robots have reached that inflection point where the costs will have started coming down, because there's a lot of innovation that is still going into robots, right? So for example, I think as recently as last week, I've read an article where Elon Musk is trying to create an humanoid robot, right, for manufacturing industry. So I think as long as there is an experimentation that is going on and new features that are getting added to these, machines, right, which we call as bots, the cost may be a little, prohibitive for some of the small and medium enterprise and mid market in the country. But nevertheless, it's only a time before they become affordable. There'll be probably robots which will be coming with fewer features, because as Sudhanshu has also taken two different examples, right? Every industry, every vertical, every manufacturing plant may not need all the features that a powerful, perfect robot can give, right? So I think it will get to a point where there will be a feature set that will be defined by what a bot can do, and and there'll be an affordable price point for those features, and most people can probably uh, you know uh, afford those bots, right? Now, having said that, I still want to look and pass a message to the industry that a lot of entrepreneurs, manufacturing company owners should look at this as an innovation that they bring into their organizations, so that their staff looks at their organization being a transformative organization rather than just a brick and mortar organization, and still use the people who have tons and tons of experience so far, whose job is getting replaced or kind of a job is getting augmented with some help from board. But how can that experience be monetized, right? So at the end of the day, if you have seen today, AI and ML, right? It's not that it's something very new, right? I have if I kind of peel the onion and see what is AI/ML. Today we have machines, today we have cloud environments where your processing power of a computer can be enormous, right? And hence we are able to say that, hey, you give me the data, I have the processing power, so I'll put some models in place so that we can get some outcomes predicted, right? But go, to take us back to 20, 30, 40 years back, I think we had the data, we didn't have the processing power. We had the same kind of doctorates, PhDs who could have created the models even then, right? It's just an evolution that is happening, and and IT industry is taking advantage of trying to create the models. But if you look at again the job profile of whom we need, we are actually asking people who've done PhDs, scientists, data science people, right? So at the end of the day, I think the evolution is happening just because there is some additional layer of processing power that has come, right? Bots are the same. We have to look at them as the same thing. There is an autonomous body that is coming to help you, right? To take the help, right? And it will be affordable at some point in time, to your question. And then use the manpower that you have, where the intellectual capability and experience is tremendously high, and use them in a much more higher end task.
Srisha, finally for you, as a young tech company, how do you see the future of Indian startups slash young company like yours when it comes to delivering products or solutions using AI, ML, and data science?
All this while, I think we've said, oh, we're laggers. We start Indian IT services as BPO. Oh yeah, you might have matured to KPO. That's pretty much the maximum limit that you could get to. Yes, there are some tech jobs, but everybody's of the intention that I start a job here and then I land up in the US sometime as an on-site consultant. That was the ambition for Indian IT engineers for a very long time. I think with the advent of AI, like life comes in a full circle. Maybe AI is the inflection point for IT services industry in India. We've seen that happen to us. We are not a tier one company. Probably a lot of people don't know who we are, but the kind of clientele that we serve is definitely on par with the tier one companies. The reason being, we've got that capability to deliver on the AI/ML promise. And how do we do it? We have to continue to educate the customers as well as the engineers internally. I think just taking a segue, one reason why Indian companies kind of slightly lag is because of the impatience more than anything else. They don't have the capability to see things through, whether it is a services company, whether it is a client, vendor, doesn't matter. People want quick results. I think it's high time we do away with the jugards, put in all the hard work that is needed, and get the actual thing out. So for us, for young companies, for all the entrepreneurs in India, I think one thing that we have to be absolutely clear is we are not laggards in the ML AI space at all. It is absolutely a level playing field, like Sreekanth mentioned. You are at the start of the race. Now it's up to you to build that endurance and go all the way. This is also a marathon. This is not like a sprint. You can't run and say, oh, I've done this. Yes, we're seeing billion-dollar companies in India. Yes, that's all happening. But they've taken time to get there. The time frame might have reduced, but they've put in all the hard work and efforts. So there is endurance that is needed. There's lack of impatience that is absolutely mandatory. Of course, keep up to speed with the technology trends. And if you have this 3 in a box, right? You have an engineer, you have a subject matter expert, you have the data science people together and work on a problem instead of doing it like just doing it in pun, not a factory model where you do one thing after the other. But if you are thinking together and if you implement this 3 in a box, I think Indian IT companies, whether it is products, services, doesn't matter, with AI, they will definitely be a difference in how they're perceived.
So thank you, lady, and thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And we look forward to having you on our other shows. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.